With the release of Path of Exile 3.23, grinding gear games dropped in the biggest level of difficulty increase in Path of Exile history in the form of a purchasable microtransaction through their supporter pack system. If you were to buy a $480 supporter pack for this year's annual packs, you are able to design a Tier 17 map for Path of Exile with its own unique reward, which is a foil item of your choice. The harder the mods, the more common it is. The rarer the item that you're putting as the reward, the less common it is. That means lots of people are putting in maps with extremely difficult modifiers and absolutely terrible rewards, so their maps are constantly seen. While that's okay and all, it's not too interesting really to add this to the game in that manner. You want these maps to actually be thematic, interesting, not trolling, right? Well, I think that this whole system might be used, of course, for this annual set of supporter packs for people to leave their mark on all of Path of Exile with the Valdo's puzzle box, but it also might be laying the groundwork for a whole new level of difficulty in Path of Exile in the form of regular Tier 17 maps. If you don't know what I'm hinting at or talking about, watch the rest of the video, we'll discuss it a little bit, and make sure to subscribe and like this video if you do enjoy the content. Once again, thank you for 10,000 subscribers. We're shooting onward toward 25,000 now. Let's get to it. So let's just take a look at one of these maps that somebody submitted. This map itself is called the Twisted Apex. It's a Mesa map, it's Tier 17, and its reward is a foil Mageblood. You see below there are a few interesting modifiers here for this specific map. That includes chance for dropped maps to convert to charged compasses at a 7% chance, or Maven invitations at a 12% chance. Very interesting. Below it, though, are the real things that we're looking at. These are the special modifiers only usable on these Valdo's puzzle box maps, on these Tier 17 maps. There are dozens, if not hundreds of these modifiers, and unfortunately the only list that I can find is on a real money trade website for PoE, and I'm not going to promote that or show that in my video. So we're going to just take a look at a few of these creations, the modifiers that the maps might have, and kind of speculate on what might be in the future of PoE. So this particular map is actually pretty cool. It's not one of those troll maps that sends you to the void. It doesn't have the feared on it, the ability to not regenerate. It's kind of thematic. So it has the following modifiers. Area contains 3 gigantic rogue exiles. This is exactly what you think it is. They are massive rogue exiles that can absolutely destroy you as you go and clear the map. It also has a modifier that says area contains 3 additional packs of 4 map bosses. That's actual packs that are just made up of map bosses from elsewhere in the Atlas. That's pretty thematic and awesome. There's another, players gain rare monster modifiers for 20 seconds on kill. That's just Headhunter, right? Very cool. Rare monsters had 3 additional modifiers, giving players more and more power as they kill more rares. And then, of course, 2 more. Rare monsters have 20% chance to spawn a duplicate of map boss on death. So the map boss, the Mesa map boss, will be spawned when a rare monster dies 20% of the time. Very cool. Lots of oaks leaping around and slamming atop you, staying invulnerable as Oak does. And then the final mod, the Maven interferes with players. So this just has the Maven attached to your back and using her various abilities that she usually uses when she witnesses map bosses. So these modifiers are cool and all, and the big reward, as you can see up top right here, is a foil Mageblood. That's huge. This map isn't too difficult, but it is kind of interesting, right? You fight lots of different map bosses, you have a mini headhunter on yourself, and there's gigantic rogue exiles roaming throughout. Awesome. These modifiers could totally work in other areas of the game, right? All the mods really could. Even this area spawns the feared, even though that should be a very rare modifier in this system that I'm proposing here. Because, come on, did GGG really want to spend all that time, all that manpower building out dozens, if not hundreds of various map mods just for the Valdo's puzzle box? Well, given the immense amount of money they have so far made off the Valdo's puzzle box, judging from the number of maps already in the game, which is already, I think it's around 400 already in game, and there's plenty more that have to still be made. I mean, maybe that could have been a possibility. They could have said, all right, we are going to make an absolute ton of money off this awesome idea, And by the way, I believe it was Octavian, a former streamer, content creator, and player of Path of Exile turned developer. Shout out to him. This is an excellent idea. Did you really spend all that time just to make an MTX for the top tier pack of 2024? I don't think so. I think this is building us up to the next level of Path of Exile 1, the next Atlas update. Because yes, Path of Exile 1 is going to continue going for quite some time, at least a decade per Chris Wilson, and Path of Exile 2 is going to be running concurrently beside it. That means PoE 1 needs some new updates to its beautiful endgame system. And what better than actually implementing a 17th tier of maps into the game that aren't from the Valdo's puzzle box. They just drop in the game itself. Maybe they drop in tier 16 maps. Maybe they drop in some wild new league content. Perhaps they only drop from Uber bosses. Ooh, that would be interesting. Moving the loot tables, the uniques, from Uber bosses to regular bosses, and then putting the ability to perhaps get these tier 17 maps just from Uber bosses. That would kind of split out the Uber, non-Uber runners a little bit. That's a problem that I'll tackle in a different video at a different time. Just a little side tangent there. Anyways, however you find these maps, they are the 17th tier of maps in PoE. They are the new pinnacle Atlas content. As hard as some bosses, as hard as the juiciest maps around already, except they can contain maybe not all of their modifiers being this wild, this crazy. This one right here is pretty tame. This one here also kind of tame, but also kind of ridiculous. Players deal 10% less damage per equipped item. Area is inhabited by porcupines. That's absolutely ridiculous, especially paired with monsters fire 6 additional projectiles, but it's a fun map regardless, right? You might not want to have all these wild mods, right? But a new tier of map with some of these mods in the pool would be phenomenal. Now, the rewards would not be chosen by the player base, of course. It wouldn't be, oh, you get a foil Nimbus, you get a foil Mageblood, a foil Headhunter, a foil, I don't know, maybe a foil Hall of the Grandmasters. You don't get any of that. You actually just get the rewards of a normal map. Because you can juice this map like a normal map, it's affected by your Atlas, you can put Scarabs in there, an Orb of Delirium, all this madness to really push the limits of what Path of Exile's difficulty can be. Sure, there's not a guaranteed reward of some absolutely wild item on it, but you can reroll these maps, you can edit these maps, and you can really dish out the difficulty that you're seeking and try to get as many rewards as possible. Sure, perhaps you could have the chance for dropped maps to convert to Maven invitations, unique maps, Conqueror maps, Shaper maps, Elder maps, Charged Compasses on there, but you're not gonna have that special reward and that special message. I am almost 100% confident that's what they were thinking when they designed the Sand Wraith Assassin Supporter Pack and the Valdo's Puzzle Box submission. They weren't only thinking about how can we earn the most money in a non-pay-to-win manner and something that will allow PoE players to leave a huge impact on Path of Exile 1. They were thinking ahead and thinking, all right, players make absolutely wild builds. Players want extreme levels of difficulty. Players always are seeking more ways to break the game, and for us to allow them to break the game and fight the hardest content around, what could we do? Oh, I know, let's make a mapping system in which you can put the Feared in a map, juice it up. You can also put the Conquerors in a map. You can have packs of usually normal, magic, or rare mobs become packs of map bosses. We'll place that in the game. We'll see how they take it, playing some of the Valdo's Puzzle Box submissions all throughout the course of 3.23. And if it goes well, bam, it's there in Path of Exile 3.24. There is a whole new tier of map, tier 17 maps that drop from Ubers, tier 16 maps, whatever, maybe the new league mechanic. And they can be editable, they can be re-rollable, and they can roll most, if not all, of these wild mods on them and truly give another tier of challenge to the player base for those who don't want to specifically go for these foiled items. They simply want a new level of juice, a new level of challenge, and a new way to really, really become addicted and ingrained to the game that is Path of Exile 1. as they wait for Path of Exile 2 to release. My fellow exiles, how likely is that idea? Do you have zero hope in that actually occurring next league? I actually don't. I'm pretty certain that this was setting the groundwork for this new tier of maps in Path of Exile. We are long due for a new Atlas update, even though the updates as of recently have been absolute bangers. And I do think tier 17 maps is going to be that new level of challenge in PoE. And I am excited because I don't want to have to buy a Valdo's puzzle box from the trade or get a random drop to actually challenge myself in one of these awesome, crazy, exciting, challenging maps. Anyways, that's all for this video. Tala Moana, Exiles.